Don't associate with them. They are no good. They are to no good. They are going to bring misery to you. Don't be complicit in your own destruction, in your own demolition. The other point I wanted to say is, I hear from the reports I get that, in fact, the opposition leader and his bodyguards fired shots into the air. You know, the last time we had shots in the air were during the liberation struggle. Now, if there is anything that can agitate people to make them angry, is trying to demonstrate your power through firing a gun. And then you must expect the consequences. You are basically asking people to defend themselves. And when they fire people guns into the air, what was the reason? Clearly, I want you to say this. The firing into the air by the bodyguards of the opposition leader concerned is abominable. Is part of the stage managing that I referred to. As I mentioned earlier, I knew there was going to be stage managing. What I just didn't know is what nature of the stage managing. Now we now know. As we go out of this meeting, we now know. Maybe this is not the last stage managing. They are perpetrating in order to besmirch the reputation, the human rights reputation of ZANU-PF. It may not be the last, but clearly it's very clear that this was stage managing to create incidences that justify fake news reports of human rights violations against Zimbabwe.
Varira road inyaya yekuti tanzwa kuti Chamisa uri kuuya kuno. Chamisa isu hatimudi ende tawa kuti wasvika uko asi wadzokera nekuda kwekuti vamwe vedu havana kufara sezvatiri kuita panapa. Ndosaka muchiona tavhara road. Hatendegwi kupinda muMasvingo West. Haatendegwi kupinda muZimbabwe nemamwe. Kupinda muZimbabwe chakurira. Hatidi
pane vanhu vakadai vasingadi chakanaka kunyango hapa chakanaka vanongoda chakaipa. Tine vanhu vakadai vasingadi chakanaka kunyango hapa chakanaka vanongoda chakaipa. Vakasvika pana vanofara vanoda kuti varwe, vakaona vanoseka vanoda kuti vacheme, vakaona vanodana zvavo vanoda kuti varambane, vakanzwa vanotaura je vanoda kuti vatukane mwoyo mbei. Rimwe gore kumafuro ndakaenda nembuya yangu izere nemupunga kwataifudza mombe. Pandaipinga mombe ndakaona nyamututa achise.
The president of the MDC Alliance, Nelson Chamisa, has been going out on the streets of Mwenezi, Masvingo, where there has been reports of violence, and his motorcade was attacked and stoned. Windscreens were damaged and people were injured. Now, ZANU-PF has accused Nelson Chamisa for a number of things. They've accused him for acting, for creating his own Hollywood or Bollywood movie in Masvingo to court international response and sympathy. They've also accused him of imposing himself on the people of Masvingo who do not want to listen to him. Now, this was a message straight from the acting political commissar of ZANU-PF, Patrick Chinamasa, who said that Chamisa has a right to speak, but not to impose himself on villagers who don't want to listen to him. And because of that imposition, they are angry. They also accused Nelson Chamisa of firing guns in the air. And Patrick Chinamasa says the last time Zimbabweans had guns being fired in the air was in 1980. We had guns being fired in the streets in August 1, 2018. So I'm not very sure what you were saying there. But we caught up with Nelson Chamisa, who is in Mwenezi as we speak, and is going through an outreach program where he is consulting citizens. And we asked him to talk to us about the violence and about the comments that have come from ZANU-PF. And here is the telephone conversation that we had from the studio with Nelson Chamisa earlier on.
People must be determined, Nothing comes easy. Honey comes out of a bee star, of a bee sting.
This drive to stop you, will it work?
It will not work. They banned us on TV. They banned us on radio. They banned us from public. They banned us from councils. They banned us even from our headquarters. They're trying to ban us from ZEC. They're trying to ban us from the courts. They are trying to ban us from anything that starts with a Z. It won't be surprising if they try to ban us from even using the roads, through Zina. And we are determined, We are determined, and there's no going back. It's part of the qualification, to access the office to serve and lead in Africa.
And these allegations that you are acting, you are stage managing these things, what would be your response to that?
Honestly, if you are saying that we are stage managing, having a police barricade, a homestead in a village where we are supposed to be meeting community leaders, then we must be great actors who are able to rope in other components of that act, including riot police, including ZANU-PF youths who will be holding placards, who do not even know how to spell the word sanction, who can't even understand what the placard they are carrying, except that the return for that placard is beer and food for the day, which is absolute abuse. In fact, it's criminal. It's rights abuse to write on the poverty of young people and our grandmothers in the countryside. You promise them food and mealie milk, for them, doing violent acts. That's so bizarre. Honestly, people being mobilized to barricade the road. That damages the image of the country. In the nation, show some level of modernity and sophistication. To get women to be carrying stones and throwing stones in this day and age. This is internet age, not stone age.
But also, they say that you are trying to impose yourself on people who don't want to listen to you. Why are you imposing yourself, president of the MDC Alliance?
So that was the prefects of communities who are or that person. Who are they? They're actually not wanted. That is why they have a problem. And because they are not supported by the people, they don't want us to meet with the people. They don't want us to have a conversation. I was not imposing myself. I'm not imposing myself. What I'm having is a conversation with community leaders, conversation with women, with youth, a conversation with different sections of society, the change, the traditional leaders, hearing what they are saying, their expectation, their expectations, but more importantly, galvanizing all citizens for change. And there is a universal chorus across the whole country for change. It's almost like a national anthem. There's a national anthem, demanding for change. And that anthem, and that chorus, is including in ZANU-PF. They want change in ZANU. They want change in government institutions. They want change in the civil service. They want change, in communities, in the villages. They really want change. Everybody is demanding change. Young people, old people, women, students, change is a national demand. Change is a national necessity. Everywhere. And people are saying, look, we want change. And their interpretation is that our ability to be given the responsibility to serve is also their ability to make ends meet and for them to have an opportunity. Bule, nothing is making sense. Going to school doesn't make sense. Going to work doesn't make sense. Having money in your pocket, RTGS, doesn't make sense. Okay? Even those who are in the diaspora, it doesn't make sense that you have almost half of your, if not the majority of your able-bodied population, your best brains drained into the diaspora. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that we have a country that is so rich, but it has nothing. It doesn't make sense.
So what makes sense then?
It doesn't make sense. What makes sense is change. What makes sense is having a leadership change. Capable leadership, responsible leadership, developmental leadership, progressive leadership, unifying leadership, patriotic leadership, generous, not greed leadership, clean hands, not corrupt hands. Clean brooms, not dirty brooms.
I hear on that is yesterday on Tuesday you were trailed by vehicles. Can you just tell us what happened there?
Well, look, they are always trailing us. I now know they follow us wherever we go, even in our private rooms. They follow us. Rooms of convenience. They literally have to write down the minutes that you have or the seconds that you have spent. We have tails everywhere, and these tails are uninvited. They just become your guests. It's almost like you have a bigger convoy of cars belonging to people you don't know than the ones you actually we have a very small entourage, but it will be such a.
Do you feel safe?
Spend a lot of fuel. Spend a lot of money. Well, no, but the point is, I'll come to the safety one. But how they spend a lot of money for fuel to trail and take somebody instead of using that fuel for fuel, other priority developmental projects in communities than in the villages, the countryside, to really lift people out of poverty. That is the key thing. Look, you can never feel safe in the jaws of a crocodile, would you? Would you feel safe in the jaws of a crocodile? I was actually laughing this other day that one day I'll write a very powerful, novel or a nice book with the title "In the Jaws of a Crocodile."
Oh?
Yeah.
Yes. So I was just saying, tell us the response. How has been the response so far?
Well, the response has been very fantastic. I mean, I'm shocked at the level of commitment and the level of enthusiasm, the optimism, the support that is, all over. Is young and old, women and men, school people, students, and everybody, including even the key institutions, in our country, in our communities. They support change. There is a consensus and a chorus for change. As I indicated, People are so determined. People want change and desperate for change. And also poverty is huge. Fear is huge. People feel like they are not protected by government. They feel like government is at the forefront of terrorizing and violating their rights. They want a government that is protecting them. They want a government that is people-centered, that is aware that at the end of the day, it is the people who are the masters and not the servants of government. They don't feel that they are being served well. There's a big problem. Registration is a big issue that I'm getting. There's also a big issue around money, which is not circulating, and this servants in demands in RTGS and having to convert it into US dollars. Those are issues people are raising. Say, look, I'm right about this. People are also worried about the voter registration process, which they say, is always done and there's no accountability. So there's a sense of anxiety across the whole country. Anxiety out of the economic circumstances, anxiety out of the political situation and our present, circumstances. The anxiety out of course, what the future holds, because people are just the market. There's no industry. There are no factories, and that's a big issue. Unemployment is such a huge problem. No jobs, no food, and of course, people have no money. So those are the real issues. Jobs, food, money, security. Those are the issues.
But I want, you are talking about poverty, jobs, and money and food. But I wanted to pick your brains. Just over the weekend, we had the permanent secretary for finance, George Guamatanga, paying 5 times what he had been charged by foreign artists and spending huge during his birthday. How does that correlate with you saying Zimbabwe is people are hungry and poor when we have such spending in high places?
Well, the priorities, according to Zimbabweans, are, let's respond to jobs. Let's respond to money. Let's respond to food. And let's respond to security. Happiness of the citizens. Those are the issues I have gotten from the people. But of course, you must understand Zimbabwe is now 2 countries in one. We are 2 countries in one in the sense that we have a country for the haves and we have a country for the have-not. And mostly what I'm engaging and the people I interact with, and myself included in the leadership I work with, we belong to the have-not. And you find that the level of discussion and discourse is different from the level of discussion. I mean, the party being thrown the way we've seen the parties being thrown in this day and age, where we have people really struggling to make ends meet. There's even for the, the maximum of about $50. So it tells you that we have an elite is not understanding how the situation is out there. In fact, they are living in, air-conditioned, rooms, not just in government, but also in their private spaces. That's why they are arrogant in their defense of not just ill-gotten wealth, but also of their entitlement to the national cake. There is inequality. You go to Matebeleland, you go to Masvingo, you go to other places in Midlands, Mashonaland, Manika and included. People in the countryside have not understood the meaning of independence, because independence has meant equal for them. Independence is only for those who are at the top, but at the bottom, the benefits of independence have not been felt, and that is what we are fighting to restore and defend. I mean, listen to our civil servants. Listen to workers in general. I mean, yourself as a journalist, you know that life in Zimbabwe is difficult.
Yeah, but it is those who you say are poor are the ones who are attacking you, aren't they? Because we haven't seen any pictures of the rich and famous who you say are the haves.
Of course, they are not the poor who are attacking us. It is vulnerable to the manipulation of the rich. I'm being led by the rich who abuse the poor. Poverty defeats all possibilities. So because people are prone to being, taken advantage of by those who are rich, I can tell you that the people who actually send them, promise the minimum, they are rich people. This boy on TV there, and some big guys here in Masvingo, and big guys in government. This thing was coordinated. You think that people in the village will be able to have a printed poster, a typewritten poster in a village? They don't have a computer. And most of them have not even seen that how a computer looks like. So it's clear that these are just conduits of the interests of these rich people who have used politics as a conduit and an access point to making wealth. And that's why you see the arrogance, and they are prepared to even spill blood, because for them, access to power is access to opportunity. And that's the real danger in Africa, the biggest disease in Africa.
But maybe lastly, I'll just ask you to just address the people, your supporters or Zimbabweans. What would you want to say to them?
Well, I've always indicated that the end is nigh. It's always darkest before. These are the last kicks of a going, dying, and departing horse. They are dangerous. People must be safe. People must always exercise caution. We must not be adventurous, because, of course, they want to provoke us into turning this country into a zone of instability. You can see the telltale signs. But let us remain vigilant. Let us remain engaged. Let us register people to vote, and let us vote to win with a wide margin. I can tell you that let us remain focused, vigilant, steadfast. Nothing lasts forever. Good things don't come easy. Victory is always in the jaws of a crocodile. We must make sure we extricate it and serve this country for greater glory, for and for generations. But more importantly, victory is in the jaws of a crocodile. Let us extricate and extract it out of those jaws. It requires us to be peaceful. It requires us to be very courageous and bold. But more importantly, let us understand that it is the duty of a patriot to always protect your country from a predatory and parasitic government. It is the duty of all of us to make sure that we do things that are supposed to be done to save our country. How do we do that? We do it by making sure that we register to vote. I always say nobody has a monopoly to recklessness, and violence is no winner. Even those who are perpetrating violence, they know that violence does not profit them. But let us as Zimbabweans come together. Come, let us reason together. Encourage one another to vote. Let's converge. Let's have a consensus for change. Let's bring every voice at a family level. Let it be a family responsibility. The duty of the father, the duty of the parents, the duty of the brother and the sister, to encourage each other and one another to register to vote. Forget about this whole thing to say your vote doesn't count. They rig. Their biggest form of rigging is to discourage you from voting. And once you are apathetic, once you don't vote, you are actually voting for those who are causing our problem. Let within power to make us change our destiny as a people.
Any message to Comrade Patrick Chamisa, who said you are imposing yourself on people?
I wish Comrade Chamisa a quick recovery. He needs healing. I hope it comes sooner rather than later. And God must bless you.
No, thank you very much, President of the MDC Alliance, for joining us online. Thank you very, very much, and I wish you the best in your in your outreach process?
Thank you very much for taking interest. I can tell you that there is huge interest here. I mean, I met with, and I'm very optimistic. I've met nurses, accountants. I've met with teachers. You know, there's just one common position, that the change must come. And if it doesn't come, we are doomed. God bless Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much.
You, my brother, bless you.
Thank you, President.
Pane vanhu vakadai vasingadi chakanaka kunyango hapa chakanaka vanongoda chakaipa. Tine vanhu vakadai vasingadi chakanaka kunyango hapa chakanaka vanongoda chakaipa. Vakasvika pana vanofara